All right, everyone, we are back to another episode of the Throne Bros. Another week, another great episode of House of the Dragon. I'm your host Nando, and here with me, like he is every episode, every week, is the three-eyed Raven.
Three-Eyed Raven in the building. Just want to give a shout out to all the beautiful Westerosians, House of Dragoners, Game of Throners, all the beautiful people tuning in, uh, listening to the podcast. Even if you're not listening, shout out to all the fans, the real fans. People still hating on things of the past, but we're here talking about episode 6. So here we are.
That's right, episode 6, Faceless Men. We're trucking along. Um, after there's two more episodes left, but we continue. Um, all right, so right to it. Let's get right to it. Um, hot start for this one. I'm just gonna say it. Um, we get Kristen and whatever of his army is left. Uh, walking through these woods. One of his men who is a spotter kind of comes back, stops them, and tells them, "Hey, um, the Tullys were here, but something weird happened." And they go to check it out. When they get to this open field, there's bodies just dead, and it's Riverman. Um, Kristen checks one of the bodies there, and Kristen kind of says, this didn't happen here. So he's basically saying that bodies were transferred from somewhere else. And then he's looking around. His other soldiers, I guess, are still with him, are looking at these bodies as well. And out of nowhere, here we go, a trap set by the Tullys, the Starks, all the um Northmen that came down in support of Rhaenyra on their way to Templeton. They decided to set a trap here for Kristen and whatever armies he had left. Um, they ultimately, few, I don't know how many of Chris's men survived this little sneak attack, and they're kind of, they're happy about it for a second. And then they realize, like, from in front of them comes out an army. And then as they're sitting there, they realize army came from behind as well. So they're surrounded. This is when they know this was a trap, which kind of Kristen kind of tells his one guy, the one spotter, which we see in the beginning of the episode that's survived, and he's like, this isn't a battle. This is where where we die. So um, you know, Tully and our friend from Winterfell, um,
Sir Roderick.
yeah, Sir Roderick kind of come forward. Tully, I mean, I don't know if you have the words, but Tully's giving him some
Well,
more.
yeah. Actually, yeah. So basically, Kristen he wants to fight Tully and Sir Roderick. 2v1, right? Even towards the end, Kristen still trying to prove he's the best warrior in the
Kingdom.
Seven Kingdoms. Yeah.
Yes.
But Tully, he says he said I made a promise to the dead. I told them I would build a set for them out of a traitor's bones. I don't have near enough bones yet. That's what Tully said, right? In the book, Tully does not say those words.
I was going to allude to that. I saw something
Yeah.
today that that's not in this moment that we see is there's a lot of differences from the book. Obviously, this you know to spoil it, it was a different person, a character that we don't have in the show that they didn't introduce. We're not going to dive crazy into it, but I guess, like, yes, we know this from Game of Thrones. We know this so far from this, that there is characters that they are leaving out. I know a lot of people are making a big deal about Nettles not being around and her being the one that gets on Sheep Stealer and things like that. But I don't know. I don't want to speak for the producers, but I think, like, you are making TV, the books, you you have more words to explain and add characters, more pages. This is, hour episodes and things like that. But I also think that the Tully name resonates with the fans because, like, I guess the TV fans, because they know the name from before, and like, I maybe that's why they did it. And I'm not saying the Tullys weren't involved in this, as part of Rhaenyra's, people who knelt for her. But yes, this is one of the things, as you were saying. Sorry to cut you off. That there's different. I mean, this is called This is called the famous. Was it the butcher's ball?
Yeah.
They would, as they call it. Um, and there's another lord, right? It's another lord that says this to him. It's a different lord or a knight or something.
Yeah, yeah. One of the it's Sir Jeribald who said it in the book.
So, and he at that time it's him and like three other people, and in the book I believe Cole challenges all three, right? It's like 4 against 1 or something like that in the book that he tries to challenge instead of two, and here's only two. There's only Tully and Sir Roderick step up.
Yeah, yeah, he challenges all four.
Yeah. So that's another difference, because only Roderick and Tully like stepped up, and that's who he challenged. Obviously, as he's talking about the challenge, they basically refuse. They're like, nah, like that's not how it's gonna go down. And then we see an arrow go through. Well, before it happens, Kristen reaches down into, like, I guess his pocket or whatever, and he brings out a handkerchief that Allison gave him. And then he is hit by an arrow that was shot at by him by Alice Blackheart, who we've seen, but we haven't like seen a lot of. You know what I mean? We've seen her a few times. You know what I'm saying? But Alice Blackheart puts the arrows into him, and that's another one that's a difference. It's not actually Alice Blackheart who does that in the books as well. Correct.
What's up?
I said it's not Alice who puts the arrows in the book. It's a guy that has I can't remember the name, but he has like a funny name to me. Um,
Well, it says Red Rob Rivers and
yeah,
two
Red Rob Rivers.
archers.
Yeah. So yeah. Um, Key moment, I guess. The greatest warrior in the kingdom so far to this point has died. Well, according to him, gets two arrows to the body, one right to the below the eye, and falls. And that's the end for Kristen Cole, uh, unfortunately. So, anything from this besides, we bringing up the differences here. Obviously, the army's charge at whatever's left of the army, that Kristen was behind Kristen. And obviously that's light work for them because it was
Mm.
way too many of them and not that many of the others. So, um,
No, that was it for that.
okay. All right, we go to King's Landing. We see a dark room, a torch, and the guards find Allison Helena hiding in that little corner there, or not corner, but the little alleyway that has no end. That was a quick one. Then it goes to the council meeting where Damon is going off about the gold cloaks and the message that was sent when the gold cloaks that were killed. Sir Luther being one of them. Um, the but Rhaenyra obviously is still worried about. I think she asked about Cole in the middle of that, but Damon's trying to tell her like there's a problem here. Um, and we need to deal with this first, and then we can go and do that. Um, Manderly says something funny, and well, not funny, but smart, and Damon throws a cup at his direction, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, then the queen said something which Alan agrees to and kind of gets a look from Damon. Or well, no, Alan agrees with Damon. Correct? Is that what it is? I'm getting this mixed up.
Well, he said he wanted to wait a little longer.
Yeah,
So I think he took the side of Manderley and Frey and the
yeah.
Queen to like wait, but Damon just wants to go in.
And Alan also offered the Valerian, uh, you know, the fleet, whatever's left. Not the fleet, but the soldiers that they have left. In this too. Anything interesting in this meeting? Um, there was a lot of
Um,
back and forth, but
Not really. Damon wants justice for the King's Guard. We touched on that. Orwell gives like a little update about how Cole keeps um, messing up the Rivermen marching down to Tumbleton, so they haven't reached up there yet. And then after that, the Baratheons walk in.
yes, the Baratheons walk in. Sir, I forget who the Lord is at this point. House Baratheon, but he's the one that turned down Jace, and I mean, Luke. And after Luke left, it led to his death. Um, we know we know that Vagar uh attacked him, obviously. Um, then the Barat they come, they say they're here in his to represent them. She asks why he isn't here. Lord Boros, that's what it is.
Yeah,
And they kind of give him some thing about like we beg your patience. He begs your patience. He's dealing with some things over there. I guess Dorn was attacking the Reach a little bit over there in over in Storm's End, having a little civil war with Dorn, with some Dornish people. I don't think it was like a big thing, but he that was his excuse for not being there. Um, After she kind of chews them out or whatever, she takes their she asked them to give up their their cloak, like their Baratheon getup, um, which will come in key later, as we will see. Um, we then we're still in King's Landing. The Lady Massaria is talking to one of the King's Guard, and she's kind of overlooking like this servant, and basically points the servant out as like a traitor. Well, I think I got ahead of myself, right, on that
yeah,
one.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah. So after the Baratheon scene, they show Hugh fly over to Tumbleton, and he takes over the watch um, for Ulf, and they have like a quick conversation about how their status hasn't really changed since they got dragons, and yeah, so they were just kind of having a small little conversation there. After that, Rhaenyra speaks with Alicent about trying to escape.
Yeah, and Allison gives her the tells her the truth. She says Helena is pregnant. She was forthcoming about that. Rhaenyra's asking why. She's like, look, if she has a boy, and you're gonna have to kill him, or like we're afraid you're gonna kill him. Which Rhaenyra is still kind of like, like, do you really think the worst of me? And she basically tells him like, look, I was being lenient, but now since you tried to escape, I can't be lenient anymore. So you guys have to be confined. There's going to be more guards. You're not going to be allowed out. So basically, they don't even have like a life. I guess if you want to put it that way,
Mhm.
anymore. Which is what she tells them. And then comes at the end of the scene, like I said, this is the where I got ahead of myself. The Lady Masari is talking to one of the King's Guard, and she points out one of the servants as like a traitor, and basically just kind of tells them to like take care of that.
Yeah.
So um, that's what occurs there on that one. We didn't get Damon. He's trying to meet with whatever Go Cloaks are left to try to rally them up and take care of what's going on in King's Landing, as we know. Uh, and you go ahead and go into this. I mean, it's not much, but
They so the Kingsguard, they tell Damon, listen, we can't keep working for free. We have families. We gotta, we gotta put food on the table. Like we're being loyal, you know, to Damon, right? Because Damon put a lot of those guys in position, right? They're being loyal to Damon, but they also gotta be loyal to their families. And since they're not getting paid at this time, uh, most of the gold cloaks ended up quitting on Damon, and Damon is telling them like, "Hey, what happens when you know shit goes down, and they're going take your kids, they're gonna do whatever to your wife. Like, what happens then, right?" And the soldiers, they just
they
weren't having it.
yeah, they turn in their cloaks. And then as far as we know, they all quit. Um, so that's that. We move over to we see Alan. He's in the field. He found Corliss, caught up with him. Kind of is trying to tell him what's going on, that Ormond's striking the King's Landing, and um basically tells his father basically that look, his plan is to go get the rest of the army, and so they can help. But then Alan also calls him out because he's like, kind of assumes like, hey, like, does she wants my army too, like all this stuff, and like Alan kind of calls him out and says like, how long are you going to be angry for? Basically, like, have you not like fought your anger out? Which as Alan decides to leave, Cooler stops him and basically tells him like, tell the queen, I got some info from these Triarchy men that I've been killing that basically said that Tywin Lannister survived. So, and he's around somewhere. So, a little bit of information, a little nugget that Corliss uh, sends there. Uh, Coincidentally or not, really, the next scene is Tylan, Loras, and Aegon just sitting there. Tylan is digging a hole for the guy they killed in the last episode, the guy that was kind of in charge of Rook's Rest or whatever. And they're going back and forth because Loras is like, the hole's got to be bigger, and Tylan is like, basically, I'm weak and I can't really dig that great. And then whatever, they go back and forth. And then Aegon kind of just calls out Tylan and basically asks him, like, do you think I suck? Or do you think I'm a bad person or a bad king or
Well,
whatever?
before that, right? The reason why he asked, right, is because Laris brings up the idea of going to Bravos, and Tylan says, "Hey, we need to stay here. We could go to Castle Rock, build a council." So Aegon, he he asked Tylan like, "Hey, am I a good person?" And Tylan, he kind of beat around the bush and said some BS. But the reason Aegon ends up choosing Bravos because he knows Laris is going to tell him the truth, and Tylan was kissing his ass.
Yeah. Well, we knew he kind of shook. He didn't know what to do. There's a good trick. We go to the Vale. We see Bela, um, not Bela, Reyna, looking out of the cave, and well, she's eating, but she's kind of just sitting there looking out, and she kind of spots something, and then from afar, as she enters the cave, you can see that she sees two dragons flying around, in the distance. Obviously, we don't know who that is. I mean, we can assume, but later on, we get some information about that. But that was like the quick lesson. Down to Heron Hall, where we have
Amen.
Yeah, Eamon and Alice talking. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Uh, Eamon's just trying to formulate a plan of what he wants to do. He's like, I gotta leave. I gotta find Vagar. Um, and um, basically, he's like, I gotta ride, find Cole. So he's basically getting antsy now that he's a little better. Which Alice is talking him down, basically like, look, like
Yeah.
you should just chill out and then come out in the spring, while you're fully better, and then like it's a surprise, there's a bounty out there for you, like you're a wanted man, like the queen is only chasing um Vagar, she doesn't know you're here. So
Nah, she actually put him on some game.
yeah,
She was like, listen, the queen thinks you're wherever Vagar is, so you can hide here. It's not, they're not gonna expect you to be here because there's no Vagar. So use
yeah,
that to your advantage.
yes. So yeah, that's where kind of happens in that scene. Anything there that we should point out? Um, like
Nah, I thought,
diving deep.
mm-mm.
Back to the veil. Um, we see the Lady of the Veil doing something with throwing somebody down the moon door, a little punishment, and then somebody's brought into her, and it's Raina. Raina's brought in. The Lady of the Veil kind of chews her out. It's like, look, you violated our agreement. Our agreement was that you need to stay in that cave. You don't leave, which is revealed that basically Raina left the cage and went to a nearby town that's in the Veil and was seen, I guess, by the guards or people and got up to the queen. And she basically tells her, like, I saw a moon dancer and I thought, like, it was my sister. Like, I wanted to see, basically, she wanted to see her sister. She basically reveals, like, she was gone by the time she got there, like, whatever. And then the Lady of the Veil is kind of just trying to protect her ass because she knows, like, um, sheep stealers, Ryder's supposed to be dead, like, or whatever, and like she's on the run, like it would make her an accomplice. You know what I'm saying? So, she's not trying to die, even though she's trying to use Reina for protection or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and she just has her hiding out. So, I mean, that was basically that scene. Um, we go back to somewhere in King's Landing, where we get an interesting interaction between Alan and um,
Baylor.
Bela, which it's a contrast for something we talked about in the last show, where there was an interesting interaction between Bela and Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this was more of like Alan having a talk with her. It starts with him asking her if, like, hey, look, I want to talk to my father. Or, like, could you talk to him? Maybe you have better luck. I feel like there's like a disconnect there with him. Um, she kind of like um I don't know, in a way turns him down without saying like no, like about doing that. And then kind of brings up like her own dad about how they can't face things and stuff like that. Um then it basically leads to a little moment at the end where basically like um Bela kind of gives him the signals and basically tell him you do what you want to do. And Alan basically they end up locking lips, and who knows what happens after that because the scene ends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, interesting when we kind of saw Adam being the aggressor last week, and this one feels like it was more of Bela being, I guess you could say, the aggressor. Um,
Well, technically, that's her uncle.
yeah, I mean it's part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
Targaryens, Valerians, whatever. So it is what it is, right?
No.
Um, so we move on. We are back at Templeton. Gwen has made it there. So Templeton, he walks in, he's talking to Ormond, and Ormond's kind of like being a bully to him. Um, and kind of being a punk, but whatever. He's as he's talking to Gwen, he's saying smelling that thing that we keep like trying to figure out what it is, whatever that scent that Orman keeps smelling, which is gonna come key here in a few scenes here at Templeton because something interesting happens.
Well,
Uh,
we'll talk about it when we get to that scene, but I don't necessarily think it's a drug.
yeah, I don't think it is
Not after seeing
the
the
scent.
last episode. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway,
They talk basically like Orman's like, why'd you leave Kristen? Blah blah. Like why, you know what I'm saying? And then kind of like gives him shit for like leaving the battle, and then Gwen kind of throws it back at him, like, I mean, what are you doing? Like whatever. And then basically that kind of ends. He tells him, all right, well, go get ready, whatever. It tells Darren to help him out to get the shower, and then like kind of says some weird shit at the end, which I still don't get. You might have some insight on that. What he said.
you talking
Told
about the
him.
backs against the
Yeah,
wall? Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, he was just basically telling Darren, "Yo, watch your ass. This nigga gay."
Um, no, well,
Yeah.
well, didn't know that. But I mean, it is what it is. But the interesting, there's a conversation while they're walking where Darren's kind of like, hey, like where Gwen's kind of telling Darren like, yeah, like, he's changed you, and then Darren's like, well, you left me, and I had no choice, so I'm doing what I have to do to so I don't get my ass beat by this weirdo. And
So we kind of get like Darren knows who Orman is, like who he really is.
yeah,
But you kind of see how he kind of plays the part of like this innocent, like let me play the role, like
that's
and
like
just
it's kind of I guess what like Alice is saying. He thinks he's a scholar. He thinks he's like this like a clever man, you know
mm,
what I mean, of these, fine traditions or whatever, and follows the only faith that should be followed. You know what I mean? He's a little uptight, I guess you could say. Um, so yeah, they have like I said, an interaction, a back and forth in the hallway about like, um, where Darren kind of calls out Gwen about like, hey, would you raise an army against his like savage people, the religious people? That's basically Orman's army. And it's kind of, it's so anything interesting before like they go? I mean, Gwen says he wants to go back to Old Town,
yeah,
and Darren basically says like, don't leave me again, please. Um,
yeah. And then right at the end, Darren asks about Allison.
yeah, he does. Which the scene ends. I'm sure did tell her.
Hmm.
Um, we then get Allison and Allison and Helena talking. And Helena is basically like depressed and doesn't want to do anything. I'm not even in her room. Uh, which it starts an argument between them about like how Jahara wasn't in the plans to leave, and she found that out. And then she also kind of like Helena asked her like, "Hey, like why did you marry me to like my brother? Was there like nobody else?" And Allison basically just says like, "Look, I felt like this would be the safest thing if you were by me." And like that's kind of their thing there. Anything interesting on this one?
So Helena, she was knitting something,
Mm-hmm.
like some type of I don't know blanket
Blanket
or
something.
something. Yeah. And Allison looks at it, and we see. Well, I tried to pause it, and it looked like I'm thinking it was maybe a womb, someone in the womb, like, and it looked like it was like red. So I guess they were like covered in blood. I don't know if it was like some type of vision of like either one of them dying or her baby dying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that plays a part. I feel like, or it's gonna play a part
Well,
eventually.
the little thing she's shown, it's somebody in a fetal position, like I said, but it's only showing one eye. So I
Yeah,
don't.
so it could be talking about Aemon,
Yeah.
right? One eye,
Um,
but
which the
I'm,
next which
I'm yeah.
which the next scene they're at Harrenhal. Aemon's about to get on a horse. Little stable boy comes in and kind of realizes like, hey, this guy's got one eye, like whatever. The kid turns around to like, obviously you run away and go tell somebody, and Alice stabs him, and basically Alice just tells him like, I've kept your secret. Um, um, which Eamon's like, you could have killed me too, and claimed whatever. And she basically like they have a back and forth for like there's so many things I could have done, like whatever. Um, So then, like, she brings him inside to show him something, and basically, Alice opens up, I guess, this room that doesn't get touched. Pulls out a chest that has five dragon eggs. And basically tells Eamon, like, do you forget like your histories and the fact that Harrenhal played a big part in uh Rhaena Targaryen when she came to Harrenhal. Sunfire laid some eggs while they were there because Sunfire was Rhaena's dragon before it was Aegon's. Um,
I think it's called Dreamfire.
Dreamfire, sorry, Dreamfire.
Yeah.
My bad, talking about the wrong dragon. But yeah, Dreamfire, which is Helena's dragon, which we don't see at all, right? Ever, we haven't seen
Well, she doesn't ride
Dreamfire.
it, so yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and Dreamfire, that's where people think like, the internet's going crazy, and I'll go into it about a little bit. The internet's going crazy because everybody believes that these are the eggs Daenerys got. Like three of these. The ones that Rhaenyra got, I've heard theories before that actually it is Dreamfire who is the one who laid Rhaenyra's eggs. But who knows? I mean, people want to tie it together. I get it. But I think this is more of a symbol that Alice wanted to show him, like whatever. Uh,
Mm.
Aemon grabs one of them. They're still talking. And like when Alice gives it to them, it was cold, the eggs, but then Eamon says like this is warm. So I guess I don't know if because it's Aemon touching it, a Targaryen, like the eggs got warm again. Um, and
Or we don't even know. It could be a game that Alice is playing.
it's true. I
You
mean,
know, she she's a witch supposedly, right?
yeah,
So
that's
we don't
true.
know.
She tells him, she could be the Lady of the Water, he could be
Mm.
the Dragon Lord, and they could be a force together, and then they share a kiss. Um,
Yeah.
they share a kiss there. So we go to back to King's Landing. Rhaenyra is sitting on the throne. She is hearing the claims of the people of King's Landing. A lot of them are still, bitching about the the lack of food. Um, she kind of throws all that blame on Manderley because he's the master of coin. She's like, get on him about that, not me. Um, Claims are being brought up about the gold cloaks and who's going to protect the city. One of the sisters of, I think it's the seven. One of the sisters of seven says like one of the girls was just kidnapped, and it's kind of bringing up the the non the city that's not secure right now. Obviously, during this interaction, we finally see that thing that people were worrying about. The first time she sat on the throne, we were wondering if like she actually cut herself, or it was like obviously we know she was on her time of the month. Um, but this time we actually see her cut herself on the throne, which obviously, if you're a fan of these books, you know what supposedly that means. Um, the lore is that if anybody sitting on the throne gets cut, they're not long to be king. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you want to get into. the lore or anything from that.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say if that if that's true.
Yeah,
You know, if it's kind of like the Madden curse type of vibes right there.
yeah,
You know, I mean, it's a chair made of swords. You know,
yeah.
like
It's bound to happen.
yeah. So you know, it's gonna cut you somehow. But yeah, you know, it does say that whoever bleeds on the chair gets cut, they're cursed. So they're not. You know,
Yeah,
it's not their seat.
yeah. That's true.
Hmm.
We then see Damon on an undercover mission. He is dressed like a go cloak. He is running. He's walking around King's Landing. He is trying to bait whoever is after them, and he does. We see the guy that we saw that one time, where the little girl goes to tell him, right before that message sent to Orman. Damon, catches him. Is trying to get info out of him, and he's basically not giving anything. He basically says like, "There's too many of us. We're not going to die." um, you know, and he basically doesn't give up anybody. Basically kills him um on his way to leave because he does it in an alley. Um, he bumps into somebody who's like hiding their face. Turns out is Ulf. He basically bitches out of Ulf, slaps the shit out of him. And basically tells him like, "What is your business over here? Like, you were told to stay over there," which all can't help it but to be a smart ass. And basically says, you out of anybody should know that like a man needs his simple pleasures. And then that's when like Damon slaps him. He falls to the ground. Damon puts his foot on his back and basically tells him, if you're ever seen like out here, like basically you're done. And that's how that interaction and scene end there. Between Damon. We do see the little girl that we saw after everything that happens there. We do see her. She kind of like runs away, um, you know, to, I guess, warn or tell people, they're people or whatever. Um, Next, we go to somewhere outside of Templeton. We see Hugh kind of hiding in the rough or whatever. He sneaks up on a merchant that has food, attacks him, and we basically see Hugh posing as this merchant. Sneaks into Templeton. Obviously, he's looking for his wife. Um, we we do get an interaction with them in a little bit, but we go to in Templeton. We go to a dinner that's happening between um, Darren, and Gwyn, where Orman is talking about who Darren should choose. He should start thinking about who he's going to choose as a hand. They're going on, and then they're interrupted by a a uh, a troop from a Baratheon troop there. Um,
So
and
before you continue,
yes,
sorry to interrupt, but
you're good.
in this part right here, uh, since they were talking about the hand of the king, um, Darren brings up Otto, and Orman he kind of like laughs it off, it's like, "Oh, Otto." So at this point, I don't think they know Otto's dead.
Otto's dead.
Yeah.
Yes, he also does give his props to Corlys,
Hmm.
like to Rhaenyra for picking Corlys, and he said, gives his props to Corlys
Yeah.
as like he respects him. Um, so the Baratheon crew comes in. They are covered in all types of shit, and you could tell like they do a good job in the scene. You could tell it's bothering Orman, how they smell. They are dirty. You could tell it's disorienting him. They are talking about who they are. They're like, I'm the cousin of Lord, Boris Baratheon. He sends, he wants to give himself to, Darren or whatever, and I'm here on his behalf. Um, the camera does a good job. It kind of zooms in on Gwen. Gwen's kind of like um sees something like he's kind of like has a worried face at first when they zoom in on him, and he's kind of analyzing everything that's going on. Um and right as they're introduced to King Darren, or the King Darren, um, Gwen steps in, grabs a knife from the table, stabs the first guy, and they get into a tussle. While this is going on, Orman's basically screaming, telling like his people to stop, stop Gwen because he thinks, he has no clue of what's going on. He thinks it's, Gwen's ruining something for him or for Darren or whatever, for whatever their cause is, um, you know, and Gwen tells him like this was a planned attack. They were here for Darren, for an assassination, and you couldn't see it or whatever. Um, so I mean, yeah, anything about that one that and he basically Gwen points out like this isn't so and so is a lot taller and he's
Yeah.
this like they're Orman's like I will carve her from her crown to her whatever. And then as he's talking, he ends up throwing up. He couldn't help it. He throws up because of the smell. So he's
Yeah.
throwing
So
up.
it already smelled crazy when they walked in, and then all the blood and guts and shit mixed
Yeah.
together. He just couldn't handle it, so he
He
ended up
couldn't.
throwing up. But yeah, I think the thing that he sniffs is it's like kind of like how like when you eat sushi they give you the ginger
Yeah.
to kind of like
Like
cleanse
a
your palate.
palate cleanser.
I think it's something like that, like kind of like resets, like kind of keeps his like senses or his sense of smell like under control type of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was just my 2 cents about that.
Yeah, we get a scene. Hugh finds his wife. They kind of hug it out. She cries because, whatever. He tries to tell her, like, hey, come with me. I am a knight now. I have a dragon. And she basically kind of like calls him out. Like, that's all you cared about. Like, obviously there's some resentment. He lost a daughter, obviously, before he left to go be a knight. And now she lost a daughter, basically him, because she feels it's not the man she married, and her brother died at the hands of um Darren and Tessarion, were basically Orman.
Hmm.
But they get in a fight. They don't go with her. He doesn't. It as it ends, it doesn't seem like she's going with him. Um,
Yeah,
we don't see Hugh leave. I'm sure he just got out, but we'll see if they touch on that next episode. Probably not. Then we return to where Orman's staying at, and they are cleaning the room, and then Darren's practicing his fighting outside, a little sparring session. Orman's watching from the window. Gwen comes up, and basically Orman gives him, thanks him for and apologizes to him for being mean to him basically earlier when he got there. Basically tells him you can go to Hightower if he wants. He's not going to stop him
old
from
time.
Old Town, sorry. Yeah. Go to Old Town, sorry. And be there if he wants. He's not gonna stop him. Um and this is where Gwen kind of calls him out about like what are you gonna do when like what's your plan? Like what are you gonna fight? Like what are you doing like
Hmm.
here? Like which as far as we know, like he doesn't reveal it obviously. Um so anywhere there before we move with the King's Landing for our next scene.
Well, remember how in the when Gwen first shows up, you asked about the joke he made or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this scene right here kind of tells me that Orman's a little on that side too.
A little weird too.
Yeah, I think him and cousin used to, they might have,
Took
you
showers
know,
together.
yeah, something. But that's just speculation. Yeah, just based off that interaction, it just
Yeah,
felt like
it was
it
a little
felt like
zesty.
yeah.
Um,
But
uh,
yeah.
we go back to King's Landing, and basically Allison is talking to Rhaenyra and she's kind of begging her like, please let at least Helena go outside. She needs it. She's kind of going like whatever. She kind of not slips. I think it was on purpose. She tells her like Aemon's in Harrenhal, which Rhaenyra's like, no, like Vagar's not there. Like, you know what I mean? And she was like, I'm not talking about Vagar. Like, I'm talking about Aemon. He's at Harrenhal. And she basically tells her like, how does she know? And she basically like tells her like, yeah, Helena kind of like, I don't know, sees it, dreams it, which kind of which intrigues Rhaenyra, who obviously, as we know, Targaryens have had, there's legends of Targaryens having other powers, obviously, in the past. Like, I guess you call it powers, but things that they can kind of see. And this intrigues Rhaenyra because obviously there was a descendant of theirs that used to also dream, and she's the one that foresaw
The
the
Doom.
the doom, and then also Aegon's conquest, right? Correct? Or
Well, the dream. I don't know if Aegon had a dream about the conquest. He might have. I might have to touch up on that.
yeah,
But just the dream about the Song of Fire and Ice.
yeah,
The White Walkers and everything. Winter.
yeah. So that intrigues her. And then she kind of gets an idea in her head and she's like, oh, well, if Aemon's over there, you're gonna go. You're gonna go with one of my soldiers. And I think that's like in a way her plan to kind of do a sneak attack on Aemon, um, by sending his mom with a guard. And then,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's an assassination plot. Allison doesn't want to do it at first. She kind of fights her like, hey, I'm not gonna take part in any of this. And eventually we see she does because like the next scene, she's telling Helena, like, hey, I gotta go. I gotta go do this. And then Helena's kind of like, you know, did you turn it down? Like what? And she was like kind of said like she had no choice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um uh this is all together, like it's changing, but it's all together in the same area. So we call it like one scene. Um, after they have their talk, Rhaenyra's kind of seen like looking outside of a like her bedroom window, kind of watching like Allison leave um, for this mission. Um, she is what is it? She is not disturbed, but she is the door knocks and here comes it. She receives a package from Templeton.
But well, before that, it's not really important. It was just kind of quick. They show Rhaenyra on next to Joffrey
Yeah,
while he's sleeping. But
yeah,
another scene of her like not interacting with him.
yeah.
But yeah, and then we get the next scene.
A rider came. Alwyn gives them the thing, and it's the Baratheon, I guess you could say, cloak or part of their uniform, and with blood, there's a message. I think I have it here. Um, the message says, "Kick this dog, and it will bite. And it will bite you." Sorry. So that's the message. Anything interesting here before we walk into the final scene of this episode?
Uh, no. This is just a little warning shot
Yes.
back at Rhaenyra Orman. Letting her know, oh, that was a nice little trick you did, but watch your ass,
Yeah.
cause watch your ass, cause you never know. But yeah,
And yeah, I think this was, you could say that the next scene is a shot fired in response to this. Obviously, I don't believe from what I've heard. Obviously, I've told our audience I did not read this um this part of this story of the House of the Dragon. The Three-Eyed Raven did though. But that's why he's here with all the knowledge. We go to a scene where Corlys is around his men in a fire. They're having, little serenade and singing and all that, having a little good time. Um Corlys is basically telling them like, look, we came, we did what we had to do, but now we're needed in the city. So get your blades ready and we're gonna head back because we're needed there. So it looks like Corlys has changed his mind and kind of had, a second opinion about what Alan brought up and is now ready to go um, help out. And, I guess he got over his madness. Um, it jumps to a scene of, I guess, Corliss. He's not next to his crew anymore, but he's nearby with, he's like staring at like all the people they hung from the Triarchy. I guess his trophies, if you want to call them. And then somebody shows up behind him, and as we see is shown, it is Orman's right hand man. The guy, I don't know his name, but he's always right there. He's got a big sword. Um, and he kind of says like, like who are you? And then kind of tries to
Sir
attack.
Sir John Roxton.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then he kind of tries to like attack him, but somebody comes from behind him with a chain and kind of, it looks like it's choking him out. And then we see some other men that seem to be with this high tower crew, and they go to where like you can see the bonfire is at, and as we can assume, they attack those soldiers, sneak attack them because they're not ready. They were just, they're probably asleep, probably, I don't know. And
Probably
that's
drunk too.
yeah, that's the end of that. So we can assume that Corliss is possibly dead. Um, they don't really go into like confirming that he's dead. But I think that was the end of Corliss for this show, unfortunately, which is something that's also different from the book. Am I correct?
Correct. So this is not Corliss's last scene in the book.
Okay. And we don't know. I'm just saying because they did
Yeah.
grab him by the neck. They
Mhm.
could have just incapacitated him. He's going in as a prisoner. I don't know. But I don't know where they're going. Obviously, this is something that I heard, and you just confirmed that this is a lot different than the book.
Well, the way I don't know, the way I kind of interpret it was Orman brought him up when they were eating
Yeah.
before the attack,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Shadow is what you're saying.
what?
The foreshadowing.
Yeah, yeah. So after the attack, right? She obviously knew it was Rhaenyra, but it was like I think Orman thinks Rhaenyra is not like
Smart.
about it. Like she's not a savage enough to send the uh the assassins.
Yeah.
So someone had to advise her to do that. So I'm pretty sure Orman thinks this was Corliss's idea. And so I think they just kind of ran with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
True. So yeah, that was this week's episode, Faceless Men, episode 6. Um, we did get some action. For the ones that are waiting for the action. Um, we didn't get any dragons for the people who are just here for the dragons. But I mean, it's part of the story. Yes, as we said, if you haven't read the book, we did confirm that some of these things aren't in the books, how they happen in the book, and doesn't take away from it. I think even if it wasn't done the right, with the right characters, how Kristen Cole died, it was a good scene. Um, I think so. You know what I mean? I think we got to stop. Sometimes we got to stop. We got to enjoy the moment. Stop like diving too deep into it. Um, but anyway, I thought it was a really good episode. Like I said, you know, I think it's been a pretty good season so far, and we're 2 episodes away from hearing it all out. Um, and we'll get to it. We'll be here to cover it. Any thoughts right here?
Oh yeah, yeah. You already know my breakdown, right? So uh watch out for Corliss, right? We don't really know. Maybe they're just trying to hit a fake out to bring some to build up the next 2 episodes. So we don't really know if Corliss is dead, right? So watch out for Corliss. We got to watch out for Hugh. We got to watch out for Ulf. You kind of see, you know, the way they're moving, the way they're thinking. It's not as loyal as uh, they should be. Obviously, they want this lifestyle, and they think because they got dragons, they gonna get the lifestyle. But so we'll see how those two move forward, right? All right. Yeah, we gotta watch out for Eamon and Alice. See what they're plotting. Damon, what he's gonna do in the next few episodes, because something big's coming up. Uh, but yeah, and then let's see what they do with Allison and Eamon. See what happens at Heron Hall. But yeah, that's kind of my rundown. Watch out for Adam too. We didn't see him this last episode, but you never know how he's gonna react once he finds out Big
Yeah.
Bro, Big Bro taking his girl. So yeah,
Yep.
you just gotta keep an eye out.
That's true. And we'll be here to talk about it. Like I said, we got 2 more weeks left. I'm here. We'll be here to talk about it. And just look forward for you guys to listen in, go on this, keep continuing on this journey with us. But that's all we got. For the 3 Eye Raven, for me, we thank you, and we'll see you next week because
My watch is ended.
that's right. See you later.
Peace out.